After Toyota's many years of trials and tribulations with their first ever large truck, the T100, they finally righted their wrongs with the all-new Tundra, which has really earned the reputation of being an extremely capable, reliable, and dependable full-size pickup truck. And with the all-new 2023 Tundra being an absolute technical marvel, especially compared to one of these, I'm going to explain why I think the older Tundras, and especially the first gen, is the best Tundra. Compared to Toyota's 4x4s and Tacomas of the 80s and 90s, Toyota wasn't as well versed in full-size trucks compared to the domestic competitors like the Ford F-150 and the Chevy Silverado. So because of that, Toyota introduced the T100, their first large-size pickup truck. It unfortunately ended up being the runt of the group, only being slightly larger than the Dodge Dakota at the time. And the T100 even touted up to an 8-foot bed, but it still retained the powertrain and suspension components of the smaller Toyota 4x4 pickup truck. And because of all that, the T100 was criticized for being too small, and the lack of a V8 engine option really deterred prospective buyers of full-size trucks. After production of Toyota's Edsel ceased in 1998, Toyota introduced the all-new 2000 model year Tundra in 1999, which was bigger and offered more power and finally more features that would appeal to full-size truck buyers. Toyota actually planned to continue the T100 nameplate of their older, larger pickup by naming the Tundra the T150, but that was short-lived because Ford sued Toyota because the name was too close to the Ford F-150, hence the name Tundra. This Tundra in particular belongs to my friend Paul. It's a 2005 Tundra SR5 four-wheel drive double cab in Spectra Blue Mica. It's actually a pretty color, one of my favorite colors on the first gen Tundra. This Tundra also has a hair under 230,000 miles, and although it may look like it, with its patina on the hood, it certainly does not run like it. Toyota offered the Tundra in 3 different trim levels back in '05. Base, SR5 like this one, and the Limited. And because it's Toyota, they package their vehicles very well to give you a plethora of standard features while eliminating the need for many options. This one being an SR5 four-wheel drive double cab with the V8 gave it an MSRP when it was new of about $30,000. Four-wheel drive was actually a $3,300 option back in the day. Just like most other trucks in its competition, the Tundra offers a few different powertrains depending on your level of needs. Now in '05, the Tundra actually was slightly updated in terms of powertrain, with Toyota removing the 3.4-liter from the old Tacoma and 4Runner and giving the base Tundra a new 4-liter V6, a fantastic engine also known as the 1GR-FE. But you could also, of course, because this was the engine that most truck people wanted, get this. It still didn't close. Get this. The first ever iForce V8, also known as the 2UZ. This is a 4.7-liter dual overhead cam V8. It's naturally aspirated, of course. It's actually the same engine you could find in its sibling, the Sequoia, also the Toyota Land Cruiser 100 series, the 4Runner V8, and a few other models sprinkled within the lineup. But in this application, it makes 282 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. Power either goes to the rear wheels or all 4 wheels using a part-time 4-wheel drive transfer case. The option of 4 auto was not available. I don't think it's ever been available for the Tundra, unlike the GMT 800 trucks of the same time that offered a 4 auto setting. But this uses a part-time transfer case with 4 high and 4 low, and of course 2 high. The V8 in '05 also was slightly revised with the new addition of variable valve timing that bumped power from 240 horsepower to 282 horsepower, an additional 22 horsepower, but torque stayed the same. This is a really good engine, of course found in many other Toyota trucks, and it's known to be pretty reliable. Again, this one has over 200,000 miles on it, and I've seen people with double the mileage with this original motor. One of the few things that I would make sure that have been done, or make sure that you do, are the timing belt and water pump, because these are interference engines, so if that timing belt goes out, bye-bye engine. Even though the Tundra is bigger than the T100, especially in this double cab 6'3" bed configuration, reports still claimed that the Tundra was a little bit smaller than its competition. I don't know much about that, but this is sitting at 230 inches long, making it 10 inches longer than an '05 Suburban at the time. So this thing is pretty big. The Tundra was also available in several different cab and bed configurations. Starting off with the cab, you could get either a regular cab, which was just 2 doors and a bench seat in the middle, the access cab, which had the 2 front doors and then clamshell rear doors, or the crew cab or double cab in this form. You could also get a few different beds ranging from 8 foot in regular and I believe some extended cab models, a 6'3" bed also known as the standard bed on access cab models, or this 6-foot bed found only on the double cab. And in access cab form, with the 6'3" bed, Toyota offered the infamous Tundra stepside, which had a more retro looking theme to it. Tundras were also available with different wheels over the years. Most of them will come stock with 16-inch wheels depending on steelies or alloys, but this one, because it's an SR5, you could also get this on the Limited, comes with these 17-inch alloy wheels. One of my favorite Toyota truck wheels because they look good on pretty much everything. On this one, they're wrapped around 265 17s, which for my standards are a little bit too small, so I'd put a bigger tire on this. One of the nice things about a full-size truck is the ease of putting larger tires on it. Also, if this was my truck, I'd put a leveling kit, at least a leveling kit on it, but I would put a lift kit on it. Around the business end of the Tundra, I do like that there's a tailgate lock, but there aren't any gas-assisted struts, as I would expect. Even though compared to brand new trucks, the Tundra is pretty simple, it is still extremely accommodating. Like real truck people, again, you could either step on the bumper to climb up on it, or just like how I do it, I climb up on the tire like this. Just make sure you know what you're doing. Oh, some nonsense is going on. This one has a drop-in bed liner, which I really like. My Tacoma had it, makes it super easy to clean, and it's extremely useful. I also like that it's bolted down on this one. Just like a lot of other trucks, there's a tie down on each corner of the bed, which is a nice feature, but the Tundra adds to that versatility. There's these little flaps on each corner that if you pull them out, you can actually wedge a piece of wood in there and then build a rack out of wood or build anything you want to make the Tundra extra useful. Unfortunately, there aren't any outlets back here, but it's still decent. There's a bed light, which I like. My Tacoma didn't have that. And also one of the Tundra staples is that the rear window rolls down. That's standard on the SR5. Base models, it doesn't roll down. And as far as numbers are concerned, the Tundra can haul up to 2,100 pounds in the bed, and it can tow up to 7,100 pounds in this configuration. But even though the Tundra can tow 7,000 pounds, it doesn't have an integrated trailer brake controller like the new Tundra. Now, when I had Phantom, my old Tacoma, the rear seat space was really somewhere that I wish I had a full-size truck. So that makes the Tundra extremely accommodating. As you can see, it's so easy to get in because of this grab handle here and even this grab handle up here. But closing the door, a really nice solid thunk. This, even though it's an American-made Toyota, it still feels really well built. I've sat in the back of this Tundra many times, and I can say 3 adults can fit back here pretty easily. On the rear of this seat, there is an armrest that's cloth with some padding on it and 2 shallow cup holders, but they'll do the job. If you want more cup holders, there's 2 on the back side of the center console, which are a lot bigger, and they, I think, can fit a hydro flask in them. There's also a 12-volt power outlet for the rear seat passengers underneath the cup holders as well. At least in this one, the rear seat does not recline and it doesn't slide forwards or backwards, but I'm 5'9" and the driver's seat is in my position, and because this is a full-size truck, this is really what I love. The amount of rear seat room. I have maybe 3-4 inches of legroom. I can fit my feet under the seat, and I have great headroom even though this thing has a power sunroof. In terms of more accommodations, because it seems like in 2005 everyone was smoking in the back seat, the Tundra comes standard with 2 ashtrays for the homies or your young toddlers that may be smoking. And even though this has single zone climate control up front, there are still air vents back here on each of the B pillars. It's actually a pretty nice place to put them, a lot better than putting them really low behind the center console. The rear seat can also fold in a special way as well. If you fold the back side of the seat, which is a 60-40 split down first, you get a little flat area of space, and there's some places that you can stuff things behind the seat. If you want even more space, you can flip the bottom of the seat up, just like in their SUVs, and you can fit a lot more things in here. I've actually fit my bike in here while it's been raining. That's how wide this is. And underneath the seats, on the other side, there's some tools for the jack and spare tire equipment. And on this side, there's some storage that you can put jumper cables. Very useful. As we get into the front seat of this big behemoth, step-in height is also pretty easy because you also have these grab handles up front, and this one has running boards. If this was mine, the running boards would be the first things to go away, but as we get in, again, it's really easy to get into. This is really what makes it a family truck, a proper family truck. Closing the driver's door, a nice solid thunk, but this one for some reason has succumbed to some interesting modifications on the door panel itself. But the interior of these is extremely trucky. You do have the car-like steering wheel from the, I was about to say Accords, but the Camrys and Siennas. The 4Runners and also Land Cruisers have this steering wheel as well. It's a 4-spoke leather-wrapped steering wheel, feels nice in the hand. It's one of my preferred Toyota steering wheels. This one doesn't have too many buttons on it. Just on the left side are some audio controls, but this one doesn't have anything like Bluetooth like that. The horn has gone out on this one, so only one horn is working. But behind the steering wheel, the headlights are not automatic, but they do auto shut off when you open the door after turning the car off, and the wipers aren't automatic either. As we look up at the gauges, they're very similar to the Sequoia, very trucky, of course. Of course, all the other gauges like the tach, speedo, and fuel and coolant temperature gauges are there, but there are no intrusive screens in the gauges, which is honestly a better thing. This one also has the 4-speed automatic transmission, which is column driven. I love column shifters. I always love driving this because of that. This one also has an overdrive off button, which I would imagine is also like a tow haul mode. Towards the center, because it's an SR5, it has a more basic look. The Limited comes with a faux wood trim that goes around all the HVAC and the radio controls. This one has an aftermarket touchscreen radio, which is okay. But of course, standard equipment would be an AM/FM radio with a CD player. This one also has the JBL sound system, but again, because this one has a more cheaper head unit, it doesn't sound as good. Down below is the single zone climate control for the Tundra. Extremely easy controls to use. It really is idiot proof. Underneath that are the controls for the 4-wheel drive system. Unlike some other trucks, this one has a fully push button system. And underneath that there's a cigarette lighter and an ashtray, of course, which is a coin holder. And to the right of that are 2 more cup holders for the front passengers. But there's a lot of cup holders in here, and this isn't even a minivan. There's this nice little storage tray that I put my phone, or you could put whatever you want in here. Behind that are 2 bigger cup holders, which are actually pretty useful, and they do fit water bottles. There's actually 2 more power outlets on the passenger side of the Tundra in the footwell as well. Since we're already in the center, there's 2 minivan style armrests. They aren't adjustable, but they rest at a nice height. There's also this really big center console with this upper tray, which you can put things in, or this lower tray, which you can put even bigger things in. For the driver and passenger side, they're both fully manually adjusting. The driver's seat does have a height control, which I appreciate, and they're actually pretty comfortable. We've driven this on countless road trips, and the seats, although they're not supportive and tight, they fit all kinds of sizes, and they're actually pretty soft, so they do a good job at holding you. There's nothing extraordinary in the interior of this Tundra, but everything is extremely functional and extremely practical. Material quality, things don't creak or rattle in here, but of course, the dash is all hard touch plastic, at least in this SR5 trim, but it doesn't bother me, even if this was a limited, because this truck is more trucky than all these new luxury trucks out there. Up top, this has visors with mirrors, but no lights, interestingly enough. But this one also has that very clever system of having the little extension on the side and the flap in the front, so you have maximum sun blockage. I'm pleasantly impressed to see that this has garage door home link. This also has a thermometer and a compass, but no trip computer, but that's okay. And this one, of course, because it's an SR5, comes with this really big, old school single pane moonroof. No Toyotas nowadays get big moonroofs like this, unless if it's a pano roof. So just like driving a lot of other full-size vehicles, there is a bit of an adjustment if you're used to, driving smaller things. But you'll be surprised to see that the Tundra is actually pretty refined and pretty drivable for being as big as it is. Now, even though, of course, I can feel the long wheelbase of this, it doesn't feel like anything too big. It's actually pretty easy to drive, and that'll surprise a lot of people. The steering wheel has a nice weight to it. It's not too heavy, but it's not too light. The steering rack itself is slow because it's a big truck, and you notice that around tight maneuvers. It doesn't make it hard to drive, but it definitely involves a little bit more arm working to make this thing do some tight turns. At highway speeds, you can see that this thing is actually pretty soft. It rides nice, especially because of that long wheelbase. Motor Trend back in '05 even went to the lengths of saying that it was luxury car-like. And I can say that I agree. It's actually pretty quiet in here and pretty refined, even though this is only an SR5 Tundra. There is some engine noise, but it's a good sounding motor, so it's nothing that I would personally complain about. The 5-speed automatic in this is also pretty decent. It shifts well, and it also provides engine braking when you're going down hills or going around tight corners. It's actually pretty intelligent. You can't manually control it, but there is a second and third gear and an overdrive off button if you want to control it a little bit more. But I really do like how this thing drives. I do have to say it feels the most civilized, even compared to the GMT 800 trucks. The steering in those is just a little bit lighter and a little bit, not sloppier, but a little wallowier. I don't even think that's the word, but that's the best way I can describe it. This thing, of course, it's not sporty, and it doesn't want you to ever drive it in a sporty manner, just like any other pickup truck, but it holds its own. It's actually pretty planted. Throttle response is also pretty good as well. There's nice low torque. And it's a great sounding engine. It puts its power down pretty smoothly, but again, this is not sporty and it doesn't want to be driven sporty. I do hear not more engine noise, but hello. I do hear a little bit more engine noise than I would expect. I don't know if that's an age thing or if that's just how this is. Now, I'm not gonna push this. I'm only doing 40 and it feels just like I'm doing double the speed limit, and that's because this is a big thing. And this has no weight in the bed, so it does make it a little bit lighter. And of course, just like all other pickup trucks, because there is no weight in the bed, it will be a little bit looser in the back. So in wet or slippery conditions, it may be a little bit tail happy. But this is actually pretty decent on back roads, especially if I wasn't behind a slow Toyota Sienna doing under the speed limit. The brakes are actually pretty good as well. They offer nice feedback. They're not too touchy, and they don't have that dead center or dead space like 4Runners do, so that's better. On rough roads and while off-roading, this takes bumps extremely well, even in stock form. This one thankfully has had the blessing of having all new shocks put on it, so it really rides like new. We'll get on the power one last time. Let's see. It's actually a quick truck. once it gets up to speed, it's actually pretty quick. And again, it puts its power down very well, very smoothly. It's actually pretty refined in doing that. Overall, as many of you may know, these first-gen Tundras are fantastic pickup trucks. These did have some strong competition back in the day with Chevy's GMT 800 series of trucks, but these are known for their reliability and their ability to go hundreds of thousands of miles with little maintenance. People will still always rely on these because of their dependability, and I think these are better because there's less stuff to break. You can actually use this like a tool. But enough talking. Let me know in the comments if you have a first-gen Tundra and how it's treated you, and if you like it. And I hope you all enjoyed this up-close and personal look at this 2005 Tundra. Again, thanks to Paul for letting us check out his Tundra today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, peeps.